70-year-old Vietnam veteran. Got on that troop ship in October 65, okay? And when Joe Biden did what he did, I heard your speech this morning. I heard that, Father. I was combat enraged. I was so mad, clenching my fist. For that reason only, when I saw what he did with those veterans and how they handled that, and I'm saying this to every veteran who's listening, especially ones who served in a combat area, don't vote for this guy. He's a disgrace to the nation. He's ruined this nation. And if for no other reason, although there's been other reasons, many other reasons why he's ruined this country, but to every veteran out there, especially my brothers who served in a combat area and in the NAM, if any of you are still alive and listening, don't vote for this guy. This guy is a disgrace to the nation.
Joe. Thank you, Joe. Wow, that's hard to follow up. That's one of the rare times I love being on the air with you. I actually wish we were at the end of the show to leave it right there. God bless you, Joe, and thanks for your service to this country. I wouldn't vote for this guy either. All right, let's squeeze in another call. Let's take Doug. Doug, you're on the Dan Bongino Show. What do you got for us, sir?
Dan, I love your show. I'm proud to be Catholic. I have my concerns about the Pope like you do, but respectfully, the clip that you played misrepresents what the Pope said. He is very clearly pro-life. He is very clear that there are only two genders. He wrote a document called Male and Female, God Made Them. And my second point is that infallibility is misunderstood.
Hold on. Yeah, I hold on. Just on your first point, Doug. This is not the first time with this Pope. Doug, can you get him to call back tomorrow? I want to talk to him more. This is not like a 10-second thing. This is not the first time. My point isn't that the Pope believes there are 72 genders or doesn't believe in abortion. My point is that the allies fighting for the issues that should matter to this Pope are the very people he's attacking. That's the point I was trying to make. We'll get him back tomorrow, Doug, because I don't want to seem like
Colombo here, reminding you that cybersecurity has never been more important, so you need to ask yourself, is your business prepared for a possible ransomware attack? And if you have any doubt, you need to call the team at ThrottleNet today. ThrottleNet provides world-class managed IT services and IT support to many local organizations, including my family's own small business. They're St. Louis's highest rated and most reviewed outsourced IT company, and there's many different ways ThrottleNet can help with your business's operation and digital protection. Learn more now at throttlenet.com.
Get charged up on the truth. Power Punch with Larry Behrens.
Lockdown fever. Sadly, it's spreading, but don't worry. I'm sure Nancy will be able to still get her hair done. And speaking of lockdowns, we're going to hear from noted climate scientist Dr. Anthony Fauci. That's right. I think we should all pause and really stop to think about what he has to say. I'm just kidding. I can't say it with a straight face.
Power Punch with Larry Behrens. Saturday afternoons at 4 on News Talk STL.
Get more Power Punch at powerthefuture.com.
Attention! This is a public notice from the Social Security Disability Helpline. If you're one of the millions of Americans who are disabled and unable to work, you may be eligible for disability benefits from Social Security. Receiving benefits is your right. If you suffer from physical or mental disability, whether you're applying for the first time or you've already been denied, we can help. We'll evaluate your situation and deal with Social Security on your behalf. Best of all, there's no fee until you receive your benefits. Remember, we only get paid if you win your case. There are many reasons and conditions that may make you eligible for disability benefits. Many of them you may not be aware of. So if you're disabled and unable to work, call now to get started with your free, no-obligation consultation.
800-797-0711. 800-797-0711. 800-797-0711. That's 800-797-0711.
KLGY HD3 Clay, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news this hour.
lot of problems. We got flooded roads and bridges.
From townhall.com, Hurricane Idalia continues to move inland in an easterly direction. The storm responsible for at least 2 deaths. In an AP interview, Cedar Key, Florida resident R.J. Wright says the storm surge there was incredible.
Dock Street is underwater. I literally watched a Cadillac float down Dock Street, and it stopped at the bathhouses or the bathrooms at the boat ramp. Like, it literally was picked up, and we watched it float like 60 feet.
From Tampa, 860 AM WGUL, The Answer. News Director Roger Shulman says while a lot of people are without power, they shouldn't be in the dark for long.
In Florida, we're very good at restoring power after these outages. We've been through this before, and it's nothing new, and we have 40,000 people, extra people, in Florida ready to assist the ones that are already here working at the many utilities.
Idalia now headed towards South Carolina. Also at townhall.com, correspondent Ben Thomas says crews in Hawaii have all but finished searching for victims of Maui's wildfires.
Officials suggest responders likely have already recovered any remains recognizable as such, and they're shifting the response to focus on removing hazardous waste and making the area safe for residents to begin returning.
The death toll at 115, but not everyone has been accounted for. On Wall Street, the Dow is ahead 36 points. More at townhall.com.
Attention, your money is now controlled by the U.S. government.
Picture a world where your every purchase is monitored, tracked, and controlled by those in power to suppress the freedoms of those they see fit. Hi, my name is Jason Hansen. I'm a former CIA officer and New York Times bestselling author. And right now, I've become very focused on the impending rollout of the central bank digital currency. This is not a work of fiction. It's a terrifying reality looming on the horizon. But there is a bit of good news. I've partnered with Advantage Gold to offer you a solution. They are specialists in converting your traditional assets, like those inside an IRA or 401k, into tangible assets such as physical gold and silver. Don't allow your money to be controlled. Claim your free gold protection kit from Advantage Gold. Call 800-900-8000, 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000.
Advantage Gold is... This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
It is stunning out there. Blue skies and warm temperatures. The high about 81 degrees under sunshine and a little northeast breeze at 10 miles per hour. But the humidity is way down, and that's going to make it really nice this afternoon, especially this evening as temperatures dip into the 50s overnight. But this evening will be very pleasant. Another beautiful, sunny, warm day tomorrow with even lower humidity before things start to heat up over the holiday weekend. I'm First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
This hour of Colombo and Katie brought to you by Gutter Pros. Water goes where we tell it. Call 314-656-7195 or visit them at gutterpros.com. Tony Colombo.
Libertarianism is all about individual liberty.
Katie Fitzpatrick.
Oh, good for you.
Colombo and Katie on News Talk STL.
Time to rise has been engaged. You're better, best to rearrange. I'm talking here to me alone. I listen to the finest work song. Your finest hour.
And welcome to Wednesday afternoon here on Colombo and Katie on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Another beautiful day out there. Hope you get a chance to enjoy it a little bit. I am Tony Colombo in studio with my partner Katie Fitzpatrick. And it is Wednesday, which is always one of my favorite days of the week. We'll open up Close's Cabinet in just about an hour from now, as we do every Wednesday. We'll talk to Mark Close from KC95 and Skip Weber from Weber Chevrolet. And it worked so nice, we're going to do it twice. We are going to open up the show again this week with the insider of local news and politics, Rodney Boyd. Joins us on the line right out of the chute here. Rodney, always great to talk with you, my friend, and never a shortage of news and headlines to discuss both nationally and locally. And in fact, it's been a very busy week for new laws going into effect and various issues here in the state of Missouri. So I want to dive into all those with you this afternoon. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, and I got some good news for you.
Yeah, let's hear
good
it.
News for you. There will never be a shortage of things.
No.
Is that good or bad?
The slow news day is dead and gone. The slow news day no longer exists.
That will never happen for the rest of our lifetime.
Yeah.
You know?
So we saw earlier this week, and we covered quite a few of them, a lot of the laws that were passed in the legislative session this year all went into effect on Monday. And some of them are ones that have got a lot of headlines that we've talked a whole lot about, like the transgender health care laws and things like that. But there's other ones that didn't get the headlines or the spotlight that any other ones did. Is there any standouts? I mean, we went through some of these, like the how Bible courses can now be offered as an elective in Missouri public schools. We talked about the name, image, likeness issue. Are there any of these other laws or bills that didn't get the spotlight that you feel are important to be talked about?
You know, the only one that I think merits a little bit of attention that people were confused about was the texting while driving law. Have you talked about that one at all?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. We talked about it with Sheriff Dave Marshak from Jefferson County, and I agree. This is there's a lot of strange layers with it being a law, but it doesn't actually get enforced until 2025, and you can't get pulled over for breaking that law. You got to get pulled over for another law. Like, yeah, there's a whole lot there. So I'd love to hear what you have to say about it, Rodney.
So let's simplify it. So that legislation, which had been introduced as a primary offense for at least 2 or 3 sessions, maybe 4 sessions, was advanced by the Missouri Insurance Coalition, and as a primary first offense bill, it got no traction. What took effect yesterday and soon to take effect in 25 was a compromise that treated the texting while driving or the distracted cell phone driving genre exactly like we treated in 1994 the seatbelt law. If you go back in 94, there was a big push, 93, 94, to make not wearing a seatbelt a primary offense, and it was going to go nowhere. And that was back, by the way, in a different era in Jeff City where the state was under Democratic control. So the compromise was make seatbelts what they call a secondary offense, which you could only be cited for if you were stopped lawfully for a primary offense, speeding, drunk driving, whatever. And that's exactly what they did. So they basically said we're never going to get in a state where we just repealed the helmet law like 3 years ago, right, for motorcycle riders. We're never going to be allowed to find more reasons to. And that was funny. That legislation, when it was attempted to make it a primary offense to text while driving or whatever, you could be pulled over.
Yeah.
The coalition opposing that was a plurality. You had, obviously, some pretty hardened libertarian, no, don't tread on me, folks, saying we're never going to let that get through the legislature. But you also had the Black Caucus saying, hell no. That's just going to be a reason to pull more people over in the cities. And so on that issue, people came together and were like, no. When it became a secondary offense with the minimum citation, no, you don't get points on your license or whatever, even under the second, a lot of people relaxed and said, okay, we'll let it go. And that's basically how we got there. But I watched that whole thing play out for a couple of years, and it was very fascinating to see that the coalition that was stopping it in the past from even getting out of committee, and then what it took to get it through. So I just wanted to shed a little bit of light on that. That was a very bipartisan and demographically inclusive coalition that stopped it and then ultimately allowed it to move forward.
Yeah, with a lot of caveats in place. And as we mentioned, and look, this is a point that I made earlier this week, and we've talked about this many times over the years. There is no doubt in my mind that distracted driving is a big problem. Texting while driving is dangerous. It gets people hurt. It gets people killed. I am not saying for 1 second that doesn't happen and isn't a big deal. However, until you outlaw billboards, I can't take any of these laws seriously. until you outlaw like putting bikini women on big billboards on the highway whose sole intention is to distract you while you're driving and make you look up and read the
or if you go further and have a little bit of fun until you outlaw giant QT mugs full of people's favorite.
right.
We need them.
It's just all kinds
of makeup until you make it illegal to do makeup applications.
Yes.
From your overhead visor mirror.
Yes.
On highways.
Exactly.
I mean, yeah. So there are many things that contribute to that. It's a very, very valid point. And also, like I said, there was a concern that you're going to just throw another thing out there for officers across the state to say, well, I pulled him or her over because I saw them texting, which you could never really prove, right?
Yeah.
It's literally just the officer's word versus the driver's word. So it's a really complicated.
Especially since another caveat, one of the other many caveats is that you can look at your phone if you're looking at your GPS. So then, of course, everybody's just going to say, so then now everybody's just going to say, I was looking at my GPS. I wasn't texting.
The GPS utilization would go up by 1,000,000%.
Yes.
Check the data. Check the streaming on the GPS apps because they're going to go through the roof. No, you're exactly right. Go ahead.
It's an interesting time, today, and I want to help me. Please, you guys help me with the name. So I learned yesterday that we have a very important personality in town today for an event that I only learned about, and it's the gentleman that seemed to gain the most notoriety. I don't know if it helped him in the pollings from the Republican debate. Mr. Vivek is in town today.
Yes.
And he's at some event. And so a couple people that I know are going, and I asked them the question because they tend to be people that are very, very pro-President Trump, right? I said, well, why are you going? And they're like, well, guy's got my attention. I'm not going to endorse him, but I like what I've been hearing, and he's in town, and I just want to go hear more. And I found that very interesting because he seems to be having that kind of response, not just in St. Louis, but in a number of communities. And I'm wondering what that ultimately will mean for his overall positioning in the primary.
Yeah, and will it mean maybe he's the front runner for vice president for Donald Trump? Because I think that if you've paid attention, especially, and I really hadn't, and I mentioned this, and this is, I should have been more on top of Vivek Ramaswamy, and obviously paid a little bit of attention, knew who he was. And
look how that just rolls off your tongue.
Yeah.
What a very international type radio personality you are. Look at that.
There you go.
I mean, I just stopped at Vivek, and you were like, oh,
Vivek Ramaswamy. Yeah,
so I appreciate how you just.
Yeah, it took a lot of practice. Trust me. It's not as easy as Rodney Boyd. I wish they all were. But I didn't really realize until watching him in long form, the debate, just how much he is endearing himself to the Trump crowd. He seems to be he's very supportive of Trump. He was the one who, tongue in cheek, but still, like during the last round of when this most recent indictment in Atlanta came down against Donald Trump, Vivek Ramaswamy was early to say that he would offer free legal counsel to Donald Trump to help him fight this case because it was so unjust. So he has definitely, and he very much, if you watch the debate, he's a little bit of an S disturber. He's he's gonna call people names and attack people and kind of, and stir up the pot a little bit. And he said that everybody in Washington right now is bought and paid for. A lot of very, Trump Jr. Sounding approaches to very many things. And I don't know, maybe it's too.
Tony, one of the things that surprised me was the people that felt like they ran to his defense as a result of what they felt were, unnecessary, aggressive barkings from Mike Pence. I was surprised. People were like, well, Pence was beneath himself. He shouldn't have kept trying to, attack. And it's very interesting to see how people are really wanting to give him his moment in the sun.
Mm-hmm. Who does that sound like? Who does that sound like? Donald Trump, right? That sounds like the same treatment that Donald Trump gets, the defense that Donald Trump gets. And I don't know. I don't know if he's really trying to run for president or if he truly is trying to angle himself as being the perfect VP for Donald Trump. You know, he's from a minority demographic. You know, he's young. He's got that same energy. I don't know. Maybe he's that perfect. Maybe he's trying to make the case that he's that perfect fit for the Trump campaign.
Very interesting. This is now something that I'm watching closely. I think he's going to have a good night in St. Louis. When I heard several friends of mine who are serious Trump supporters say they're going and they want to hear more and get to know him and they want to meet him, that's telling me that he's starting to really create a viability. The end game, I'm not sure, but I don't think he's going away. I don't think he's going to burn out in 2 months and then just fade away.
Rodney, before we run out of time, I do want to switch. Speaking of Donald Trump, I want to switch to some of these national issues, and I want to get your thoughts on what happened this week with his federal trial, the one with Jack Smith prosecuting the election interference one, and the decision by that judge to put that trial in March of 2024, the week before Super Tuesday. And now we have a trial about election interference that is undoubtedly going to cause a tremendous amount of election interference. And as not only somebody who has worked in politics for so long, but from somebody who's also an attorney, Rodney, I wanted to get your thoughts on. There's many things that frustrate me about this, the way that this has unfolded. Not the least of which is that it's BS how fast the justice system can move when it's motivated to do so. When there's a good reason in some judge's mind or some government body's mind somewhere to move quickly. We're used to seeing court cases take years before they see the inside of a trial of a courtroom. And here's one that's going to take 4 or 5 months because they want to obviously mess with the election as much as possible, mess with Donald Trump and his election as much as possible. As somebody who's seen that from the inside before, I mean, it's crap, is it not? That suddenly the wheels of justice can be greased up and move a lot quicker whenever there's some backing motivation to do so.
Let me give you two predictions. First and foremost, I predict that trial date will be moved. It's not a week before. It's the day before Super Tuesday. Yeah. It's the day before many of the southern states go vote. And to have the front runner on the Republican side sitting in a courtroom the day before, or even, having to prepare, is just probably going to be something that will be revisited significantly. And a number of times from just the legal side, those trial dates, all you have to have is a legitimate reason to extend them. And I predict what's going to happen is the date will hold, but the team, the president's team, will get there and say, hey, here are some objective reasons, not just politics, that we are not prepared to proceed, which they tried to argue. I thought them asking for a continuance to 2026 was a bit of an overreach. I would have, they should have been a little bit more clever, in my opinion, to ask for a continuance until sometime after November of next year for the preliminary hearing. And then we would have probably been able to then we would have known what the realities were. But when I think they, sometimes you tick the judge off when they literally ask for a continuance until a date in 2020, in 2026. But I have no dispersions that there's no way you're going to be able to start this trial the day before Super Tuesday. It just can't happen.
I hope you're right.
I think the attorneys are going to show up and they're going to make a motion to continue for some objective reasons, and it will be granted. And probably it will be granted until sometime after November. And then if you have a real scenario where you've got a president, then that case will be suspended for probably indefinitely or 4 years at a minimum. I just thought it was not, in my opinion, good form to ask for a continuance to 2026 when you could have put the thing right after. You could have said give us December 1, 2024, and we will know what world we're living in then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think there's been a lot of good form on any side in this one throughout this entire process. Rodney Boy, we are almost out of time. What are you, if there's anything, to sort of set the stage for next week's conversation, is there any issue here locally or race or whatever that could be heating up or that we could keep an eye on through the week?
Yeah. One thing that's got my attention I think I got to dig more into this, but we talk a lot about the governor's race. You asked me when it's going to heat up, and I was looking at one of the interesting phenomenons with the Republican primary. And we talked a lot about Ashcroft and Kehoe and a little bit about Bill Eigel. But if there's somebody that's got my attention even more, it's Senator Eigel. And I don't know if you really looked, and I'm sure you have.
Oh yeah.
At his fundraising and what he was able to do. And when I first learned about a week ago when I got back from vacation that he had amassed $800,000 from 40,000 donors, I thought that was a typo. And I said, what? And so I ended up just having a brief conversation with him. And he said, no, I raised $800,000 from 40,000 donors. And there's a lot that goes into that, but that just was amazing to me. And he said, and we're really going to focus on the grassroots. And to me, that was something that I thought should make everyone pay attention to what's happening with his campaign. I talked to a few people way away from St. Louis who said, yeah, he's kind of got this thing where he's grassrooting it. He shows up. It's 200 or 300 people in a room. So it's just something that caused me to say, this could get very interesting because, I was thinking, well, the Ashcroft name brings a credibility that you have to pay attention to, and Kehoe's the sitting lieutenant governor, and he's statewide. But I'm now wondering what the Eigel effect will be on this primary in a way that you got to pay attention to someone that had 40,000 donors. Those are donors, right?
Yeah.
So very interesting change in that race that I didn't see coming. And I'm going to be paying a lot more attention to it.
It only took 40,000 unique donors to be one of the qualifiers to get on the presidential debate stage the first time. And we're talking about just in the state of Missouri, just to put that into some perspective for you, how impressive that is.
By the way, this
really
didn't make headlines for you, but one of the guys that was running, the first person to get out, I was surprised he ever got in.
The mayor.
I know him fairly well, the mayor of Miami.
Yeah.
But he couldn't even qualify. So,
Right.
I mean, it's interesting. You're right when you make that contrast.
Yeah. No, I think it's a good point, and it's a perfect cliffhanger. I think that we'll do our homework, and we'll look into how this governor's race is starting to unfold here in the early stages, and we could pick up the conversation right there next week with Rodney Boyd. Rodney, really appreciate your time as always, my friend. Have a great rest of your day.
Hey, have a great, take care, guys.
Yeah, back at you. That is the Insider's Insider of local news and politics, the great Rodney Boyd. And we will be back with more. Going to dive in, going to continue this conversation about the interesting to hear him say, because not only does he know a lot about politics, but he also knows a lot about the law. And interesting to hear him say that he does not think that date is going to stand. So we will continue that conversation. Also, I want to talk a little bit about something that I know that you were watching earlier this week, and I heard Mike talking about it this morning, and the larger conversation about police action when it comes to protesters.
Oh, yeah.
And the amazing situation that happened in Nevada right before Burning Man, and how that continues to make headlines and has a ripple effect through the news cycle. So I want to talk about that as well, and much, much more as we go through a Wednesday afternoon here on Colombo and Katie on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
You're listening to Colombo and Katie. 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Live and local.
Listen to what those local folks are telling you.
News Talk STL. So many ways to listen to News Talk STL.
Come join the conversation.
Enable our Alexa skill. Hey, Alexa, play News Talk STL.
Welcome to News Talk STL, conservative talk radio for St. Louis.
Always streaming at newstalkstl.com or on your radio at 101.9, 94.1, and 99.1 HD3. News Talk STL. News, analysis, and opinion. Welcome home.
Everybody wants the economy to grow, right? But how do you feel about officials in effect giving your tax money to developers for their private projects? In the past 15 years, the city of St. Louis alone has diverted $709 million to developers in tax subsidies or abatements. That was money that would have gone to basic services like schools and public safety. Even worse, numerous studies around the country show these kinds of subsidies don't produce the promised jobs and growth. There's nothing wrong with developers wanting to build new shopping centers or company headquarters, but why should they get tax subsidies to do so? If it's a good business idea, great, but let them assume the risks as well as any possible rewards. It's time to reform economic development subsidies in Missouri. Check out our 2023 Missouri Blueprint, moving Missouri forward at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Wednesday, we'll discuss why the Missouri SAFE Act is now firmly ensconced in our law, protecting our kids from the lunatic left. Attorney General Andrew Bailey in studio.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
Breaking my back just to know your name. 17 tracks and I've had it with this game.
I'm just singing.
Oh, I'm like, what is he saying?
He's like, what's he telling me right before we go on? No, just singing. Welcome back to Colombo Katie on 119 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Big thanks to Rodney Boyd for joining us in that first segment. Great stuff from him. I love talking to Rodney. He's one of those few guests that no matter what is happening, no matter what the issue is, no matter what the topic is, he has got great information.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you miss any of that conversation, make sure you are subscribed to our podcast, Colombo Katie Podcast. We put it out every day shortly after we get off the air on basically every podcast platform. So whatever your favorite one is, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, Google, many, many more, just make sure you're subscribed to the Colombo and Katie Show. And you can also get the podcast right off our website, newstalkstl.com. Just go to the Colombo and Katie Show page and you can get the podcast right there. So, yeah, we have not talked about this on the air this week. You and I did talk a little bit about this off the air a couple days ago, and I know this is something that you were, you loved the pictures coming out of Nevada.
Insane.
This group of climate protesters are blocking basically the only two-lane road into Burning Man, at least from one of the sides getting into that festival. There's just a two-lane road that goes through Native American territory, reservation territory, and they set up like this flatbed truck across the two lanes, these environmental protesters, to block traffic, and the pictures are wild. Because I cannot believe that people weren't, because it's in the desert, I can't believe people weren't just driving around it, and I also can't believe that we've talked about vigilante justice and how we've seen a lot of it lately. And I'm not saying that's a good thing. In fact, I'm saying that's a bad thing. But I'm surprised that like a group of about 100 dudes that are just trying to get to Burning Man didn't all get together and physically do it themselves. But the police show up, and they didn't play around even for 1 second.
No.
In fact, I think so. They have like in that part of the country, they have like a police car is a
SUV,
4x4 SUV or pickup truck, and usually with the guards on the front, like the big metal guards on the front of the truck. And from what I can tell, they didn't even stop. They didn't even show up, stop, and talk to anybody first.
So,
they just showed up and plowed through that freaking roadblock.
So if you watch the 6-minute video,
plowed through.
The traffic is backed up, as you say, and then you hear sirens coming.
Yep.
The protesters, the climate protesters, really think nothing's going to happen.
No,
the sirens are approaching. They're hanging.
They are the most like condescending, elite, better than you, smarter than you.
Oh yeah, they got their phones out and ready.
Yeah,
they're ready.
We're not going anywhere. You can't touch us. We're nonviolent climate protesters. You can't do anything about this, and we're here because we're holier than thou. And go ahead.
So that's all happening.
And boom.
And they're talking amongst each other. And then that park ranger, the siren gets closer and approaches, and they take that side road and just start going. And they announce on the PA,
Get out of the road.
they say, get out of the way or we are going to run you over.
Yeah.
And
they were
the
going to.
stuck-up people didn't think so. And they came, one of the rangers had enough and pedal to the metal, went into that small little flatbed truck, rammed right into it, knocked a lady off. Heard one of the girls was screaming, "We're not doing anything but protesting.
We're non-violent."
Then the rest of the rangers come and they swarm these people.
Guns out.
And say, get on the ground or we're going to shoot you. Get on the ground.
And it's, we're non-violent. He's hurting me.
Yeah.
They have blocked traffic.
For hours.
For hours and for miles. The picture is wild.
Oh,
it
it's
looks like
horrible.
the Great Wall of China.
Yeah.
Like
from
like a satellite picture. Like it just is just this wall of cars for miles. Can you imagine being stuck in that traffic? Because there's a group of people up there blocking traffic, protest. Mike Ferguson was talking about this morning. In fact, I'm going to talk about another story that I heard Mike talking about earlier. I did all my show prep today just by listening to Mike. I'm just stealing his show.
Mm-hmm.
So if you like this show, you probably should go listen to that show also, because it's the same stuff. But it's completely all the way backed up. People sitting in it for hours. And I agree with what Mike said. If they were protesting something that I was also passionate about and I was on their side, I would still want to see that cop go blasting through there. If they were blocking traffic because they were raising money for the Colombo Family Kid College Fund, I would say get them out of the way.
But this is why I watched that video 4 times, and I'm sorry, everyone. I know you're going to think evil Katie. I laughed my ass off.
No.
Because here's the thing. These rangers are authority figures.
Yeah.
And they told them over the PA, move or we are coming.
Your right to protest is not your right to break the law.
And
your
they didn't
right
move.
to protest is not your right to block traffic.
And if an officer tells you...
I don't understand why we do it in the city of St. Louis. In the city of St. Louis, not only do they block traffic, the police escort them up and down the roads.
Yes.
And people are trying to get in and out, get to work. People are running late for work. They're late picking up their kids at home, going to pick their kids up from daycare or whatever, because these people are blocking traffic in their protest. It is not. I am all for your rights to protest.
Right.
In fact, I encourage you to protest. I think it is one of the things that really makes, because there's a lot of countries where if you try to organize a protest against the government, you're going to disappear forever and nobody is going to see you for the rest of your life. It's very American and very quintessentially American to have the right to protest. So I encourage it. But blocking traffic, breaking laws while you protest is not okay. It's not how it works.
Right.
And I watched that. Not only did I laugh, so I was sitting there
laughed.
with Evil Katie laughing. Not only did I laugh, I thought, where has this been?
Oh, I agree. But you know what, Tony? Not only were they breaking the law whenever they were in the middle of the street, but they also were not listening to an officer's demand. An officer was telling them, get out of the road or this is going to happen.
Yep.
So that's number 2.
Yep.
And this is why I'm also happy, because it wasn't an instance of vigilante justice. It wasn't that.
Yeah.
It was
Surprisingly.
officers
I'm glad it
demanding
wasn't, but
something. And
surprised.
people need to understand this is happening all over the UK. So this happened in Nevada, but this is also happening in the UK everywhere. People are sick and tired of it, and you are counterproductive to your movement when you start to piss people off because they're trying to get somewhere.
Yes.
This is counterproductive. You're
Nobody's
not
on your
changing
side.
someone's mind.
Nobody's on your side.
No.
Because there were people yelling at them saying, get out of the way. We're trying to get, and they're like, we're here for climate protest. We're
peaceful.
We're saving lives. This is important.
You're not persuading me. You're not moving me.
I'm telling you, the people that the other climate protesters that are trying to get to Burning Man that have been sitting there for hours are not rooting for you.
Yeah, they're not getting out of their cars and joining.
Not to mention,
they're like,
that's
get out of the way.
dangerous.
Yeah.
To sit in a vehicle for hours that's running in the desert heat.
Yeah.
People could have had if there would have been medical problems in that long line of people could have died because they couldn't move, they couldn't get medical attention.
Yeah.
If they did, let's say, like, if their cars are low on gas after 3 hours of sitting there still, like, your car's running, I'm sure, so you can have your air conditioner on. Now you got to turn your air conditioner off in the desert heat and all this other stuff. Like, not to mention just the dangers that come along with creating a situation like that, let alone for such a freaking condescending, elitist, I'm better, like, just the whole, like...
And why is it always climate?
We're not violent.
It's always, like, all of the people that you're picturing right now, it's always the climate protesters.
Yes.
It's nothing else but the climate protesters.
Mike said this morning, and he was exactly right, because I hadn't seen the video yet, and I will say that I will steal his joke. If you haven't seen the video yet, and you're picturing in your head what this person looks like, you are exactly right.
It's that.
It's exactly the thing that you're picturing.
Yes.
We're not violent. We're climate protesters.
And
We're
for them
environmental protesters.
They were getting
You
out of their
can't
phones
do this.
and trying to film,
Yeah.
like filming the officers
You know what?
doing their job.
Here's two things that you'll always hear. You'll always hear this. You'll always hear, "What's your badge number?"
Oh yeah, always.
Yeah, what's your badge number? And as soon as somebody's getting their handcuffs put on, it's, "He's hurting me! He's hurting me!"
Those are the two things that happen to. And there's
He's not hurting you. He's putting handcuffs on because you're a douche.
There's one girl that you hear just squawking. It's the only crow that you hear in the video is just her. I'm like, but I have to say, I'm happy that people are sick and tired of it. And it seems like it's a worldwide phenomenon that everyone is sick and tired of it.
I just hope it happens more often.
I do too.
Because if it's just a one-off,
By the law.
Yes. I hope that this type of intolerance for somebody who's breaking the law. There's no tolerance for when I break the law. I don't get any. Hey, you get a speed limit because you're going 25 miles an hour over the speed limit on Highway 70. Well, I was running late for work, and I'm really important. I'm on the radio.
Yeah.
I'm really important. I had to get to my radio show. Oh, well, then okay, then no ticket for you. No, that's not how it works. I get a ticket just like everybody else gets a ticket because I'm not better than anybody else, just like they aren't better than anybody else. Why tolerate law breaking in that instance and not other instances? Just enforce the law.
You know what's you just said something
That's it.
that Jordan Peterson said on a podcast I listened to yesterday. We have, in a society, we have become, there is a limit to tolerance. There is a limit to what you should tolerate. That is why rules and laws apply. That is why critical thinking applies. And Jordan Peterson kind of said the same thing as you, Tony. We have become an overly tolerant nation and too much of a nice nation. And that is where it's getting people into trouble. That is why the criminals are running the asylum. That is why violence is out of hand. That is why officers are having to blow into human beings that are blocking traffic for 3 hours because they believe it's their right to do so. We have become overly tolerant.
Yeah.
Like way too much.
And just like when you're over tolerant to criminals, that as we've seen, crime goes up.
Yes.
And when you're over tolerant with protesters, they get more and it doesn't get better, it gets worse.
Out of hand.
They block more roads. They loot more often. They start committing acts of violence in the name of protest because they've been coddled every step of the way to that point. It doesn't get better. Crime won't get better until you start enforcing real consequences for criminal behavior. And this type of out-of-control protesting that blocks traffic for hours and hours and miles doesn't get better until a police officer rams through the blockade with his pickup truck and says enough is enough. We have to start doing more of that.
Yep.
We have to start doing more of that. Hold people accountable.
Yes.
That's all. Don't infringe on anybody's rights ever. But it's not your right to block traffic. Protest all you want. In fact, again, I encourage you to protest.
Go on the side of the road and hold up your sign.
But do not break the law while you're protesting. Do not incite violence. Do not block traffic. Do not break the law.
I agree.
We've got got a couple local stories I want to delve into as we go through the rest of the day today. But next, I want to look out nationally. Couple of stories. One, Fox Business has just announced who the moderators of the next debate will be.
Oh.
So I'll tell you who
Nice.
that is. And Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell had another instance today of freezing up. I don't know what you would call that.
It was like an episode. He had another episode.
Very similar to the one last month where he was answering questions with the press and then just suddenly froze up. He did it again today.
Painful.
And it was nearly an identical situation, at least in my opinion. So we'll tell you about that story and more. Lots to talk about as we go through the afternoon. We'll also open up Close's Cabinet, have a little bit of fun with Mark Close and Skip Weber just after 3 o'clock. So, it's a fun afternoon here. I'm glad you're with us on Colombo and Katie on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Stream Colombo and Katie at newstalkstl.com. Follow us on Rumble at News Talk STL. If you find yourself feeling out of place in the world, it's comforting to know conservative values haven't been abandoned everywhere.
Thanks for being my voice in all this.
This is News Talk STL.
There are people out there that feel the way that I feel and say what I say.
Welcome home.
One of the best things, most fortunate things about having this job and working for this radio station is meeting and being introduced to so many of the great local businesses that we have here that, can do such great things for you and your family. And one perfect example of that is the team at Grasser Electric. I had not been familiar with the team at Grasser Electric until they started advertising here at News Talk STL, and I got a chance to meet the guys, and then we bought a new house about a year ago, and of course, along with that came a bunch of new projects, and we had some light fixtures and other electrical issues that needed to be addressed, and so for the first time, started using the team out at Grasser and was just absolutely blown away. Here is a great local business that does it right. Great service. The team, it couldn't have been easier or nicer to work with. The quality couldn't have been better, and they are extremely affordable and willing to work with you in those areas as well. It's just a home run across the board. Grasser specializes in all electrical needs, ranging from the big to the little, whether it's a large-scale commercial project all the way down to a simple home service like replacing a bad light switch. They have you covered across the board. They also offer free quotes, and they never want you to be left in the dark. Grasser Electric offers 24-hour emergency services as well. So if you have an electric issue or project at your home or your business, the team at Grasser Electric is the team to call. You can call them at 636-441-5200 or just go to grasserelectric.com. That's grasserelectric.com.
Never paint again. This is Darren, owner of Rhino Shield. Want to eliminate painting your home, business, or church? Call the experts at Rhino Shield. Rhino Shield is a revolutionary ceramic wall coating to regular paint and vinyl. Perfect for aluminum, steel, unpainted brick, block, stucco, EIFS, drive-it, cement board, and wood sidings. Rhino Shield eliminates wasting time and money painting year after year. Our ceramic coating deflects 90% of the sun's UV rays and 100% of the moisture. Our clients want affordable protection with the elimination of maintenance. Rhino Shield protects your biggest investment while maintaining your architectural features and gives you the curb appeal you deserve. Make your home great again by working with the Rhino Shield experts. A+ rated with the BBB. Call 877-25-RHINO, 877-25-RHINO, or 877-25rhino.com. See what we did there? Genius. Tell them, ladies.
Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
You can spend a lot of restless nights trying to figure out how you're going to make all those credit card payments. Why not consolidate all your debt into one manageable payment? My friends at Homestead Financial Mortgage can help with a cash-out refinance. Contact them today. Take the first step in regaining your financial freedom. Use my website, larry.homesteadfinancial.com. Take charge of your financial future. Go to my website, larry.homesteadfinancial.com.
This hour of Colombo and Katie brought to you by Gutter Pros. Water goes where we tell it. Call 314-656-7195 or visit them at gutterpros.com.
The cult of personality. I know your anger. I know your dreams. I've been everything you wanna be. Oh, I'm the cult of personality. Like Mussolini and Kennedy.
Welcome back to Colombo and Katie on 101.9 News Talk STL. Fox News has announced the co-moderators for the next presidential debate, which is what now, about 3 weeks away. Any guesses? Any wishes? Anybody you'd like to see in that role?
So if it's Fox Business,
Yeah, but I would still just think Fox. Think Fox personality.
I told you I wanted Kennedy. I don't
it's
think
a good one.
I don't think Kennedy is the person.
It's
She's
not.
got too much personality. She's got too big of a personality. She ain't gonna be no moderator.
Too good for this job.
She's too good.
What are some of your weaknesses as an employee? Well, sometimes I just try too hard.
I help everyone out too
Sometimes,
much.
yeah, I'm too much of a team player.
God, I can't. Okay, but Brett and Martha are my always go to. Sandra Smith and Bill Hemmer.
Dana Perino.
Oh, I should have said
And
Dana.
Stuart Varney. So there's your Fox Business connection.
Okay.
But Dana Perino was why I said don't.
I've never seen Stuart Varney. Dana Perino sounds about right, but I've never seen Stuart Varney. moderate.
Quote, we are very proud to have Stuart Varney and Dana Perino co-moderating the second debate with Univision to provide Americans with a comprehensive view of the qualifying candidates vying for the Republican nomination for president, said Fox News Media President and Executive Editor Jay Wallace in a statement earlier. Fox Business will host the debate from the Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation and Institute in Simi Valley, California. So, Dana Perino and Stuart Varney, and I hope that they do a better job than Brett and Martha.
I think Stuart Varney ain't going to be putting up with nothing.
Yeah.
I have a feeling he is much more aggressive in his approach.
I don't think Dana Perino is.
I don't think so at all.
I think that she is
I
the
don't-
definition of like
Standard.
of like mediator and like okay,
Play nice.
let's not
Yeah, I don't know. I
instead
don't
of
know
like
about
hey
Dana.
shut up.
Yeah, I think Stuart's going to be that way. But I don't know about Dana.
He definitely could be. I know that he's got it. And Stuart Varney, I mean, I'm not like a Stuart Varney expert or anything, but
You watch him all
from
the time.
Watching him and you know, in his presentation and his personality, I think he definitely can be that person. It'll be interesting to see if he's told that he's allowed to be that person. If he's allowed to be like, hey,
stern,
you need to be the one to hold this thing together, then I think he can definitely do it. But if he's specifically told to, hey, don't make it about you and don't get involved. And
That's an interesting pair of people.
Yeah.
That's two people I would never put together, but I don't.
I'll take it.
I like Sandra Smith. She should have done it.
I like Sandra Smith also. I'll take it though. I'd like to see it. See how it goes.
What about Harris Faulkner? Get her in there.
Oh, she'd be great.
She would rule.
Harris Faulkner would be great.
What about Harris and Kayleigh McEnany? Get Kayleigh in there. Why not them two?
Well, you can't. I don't know that you could do Kayleigh because she worked for Trump.
Oh yeah. That's true.
I mean,
That's good.
Dana Perino was also a press secretary, but it was
Not
under the
print.
Bush, so it wasn't like one of the current candidates. Yeah,
Where
she
Harris?
worked for one of the current candidates, so I don't think that she could.
Darn.
She could do it. Yeah.
That's a good pair right there.
That's you know what?
That's the pair.
Harris Faulkner is a good call. That is a good call.
Harris is. Why would they not? Harris is. That is the woman of Fox News.
Yeah.
She should be the woman of Fox News.
Do we have this sound? We don't need to have it if you don't. Okay.
I got it.
So Mitch McConnell froze up again today for more than 30 seconds. This just happened earlier today. He was at a press briefing, and he's asked if about running for re-election. And then you'll hear it in a second, but just to so you understand the scene, he says that he's having trouble hearing, which kind of gives him an out and kind of gives his team an out, and that's exactly what they've said, that he was having trouble hearing and he became lightheaded. That's the excuse afterwards. But if you remember what happened about a month ago in front of the press when he completely froze up and they had to walk him back to his office for a few minutes and then he came back out and finished the press conference and it was totally fine. That is so I was just talking off the air to some people who didn't think it was as bad, who thought like, oh, this was not as bad as it was last time. To me, it was a carbon copy. So you'll just have to watch it or listen to it and make your own decision. But here is the audio from Mitch McConnell earlier today, once again freezing in front of reporters.
What are my thoughts about what?
Running for re-election in 2026.
That's
Yeah. I don't want anybody to think we went off the air.
Did you hear the question, Senator? Running for re-election in 2026?
And he's just
all right, I'm sorry,
staring
y'all,
blankly
minute.
at the press. Still just staring blankly.
And he's, oh, God, this is so heartbreaking. Grabbing hold of that podium.
Like white knuckling it.
White knuckling that podium. They're trying to get him out.
okay.
And then he snaps out of it.
Yep.
Just like before.
But he's white knuckling the podium. They're trying to assist him away from the podium.
Yeah.
He is not moving.
So he asks, the reporter asks, when we picked it up there, that was the second time that the reporter had asked. So the reporter originally asked about, what are your thoughts about running for re-election? And Mitch McConnell says, I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing. Could you repeat the question? And he says, what are your thoughts about running for re-election? And he says, what are my thoughts about what? About running for re-election. And then he sort of laughs and he says, oh, well, that's about and then he just trails off. And then he just stares straight ahead with that same exact just like blank look that he had last time.
Same face.
Then an aide walks up and says, did you hear the question, Senator, about running for re-election? And she like shakes him a little bit, and he has no reaction. I think he like mumbles like, "Bleh."
He said, "Yep."
Yeah.
Yep.
But he just is, and as you said, he's like holding on to that podium, but just staring blankly. Another aide, and then the first aide says, "Sorry, buddy, we're gonna need to take a minute," and she tries to get him to leave.
Yes.
But he won't leave.
He won't leave.
He's just like locked,
frozen.
He's like literally like frozen, but like almost like he clinched up when he froze. So he's like holding on to that podium and he's like not moving. Another aide comes up on the other side and says, are you okay, Senator? Are you all right? And he starts to snap out of it and he says, yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine. And then he says, I'm fine. And so the aides walk away and the first aide, the female aide says, all right, let's have a few more questions, but make sure you speak up. Because make sure he speaks up because it's hard to hear up here. And apparently, because the sound ends there, but I read multiple accounts of this today. Apparently, he answered another handful of questions totally fine after that, which is exactly what happened last month.
Why?
He was in the middle of a press conference. He froze up.
Yeah.
It was so
bizarre.
Bizarre.
So strange. This was 30 seconds, though. This
it
was
like
long.
It was at least that long last
the other
month.
Was the other
at
one like
least that long.
30? Okay.
It was at least that long. It might have been more like a minute
I'm like,
last time. It was a long time last time too.
And they couldn't get it. They didn't know what was going on.
And just like last time, after he snapped out of it, he was totally fine. He went back to answering questions. He was sharp again. He was back. He was with it. But now, like the first time it happened, I was one of them, and I would have, and it wasn't because I'm a Mitch McConnell fan, because I'm not. I mean, I'm not anti-Mitch either. I just,
just
I'm not
there.
I'm not a big You know, I don't have any Mitch McConnell merch at the house, but okay, I do.
You do.
But I was one of the people who said, you know what, this just like this kind of weird stuff can just happen to people, especially if you're under the bright lights on stage. You know, sometimes you just kind of have a moment. You know, I wasn't convinced, as a lot of other people were when it happened, that this was like a sign that there is something wrong. Now I think there's something wrong. After watching this again, and seeing it happen exactly the way it happened before, now I think it's very obvious
that something's going on.
And
the weight loss, and he did have health issues right before his
weight loss.
He had a concussion. Yeah.
He had a concussion.
He's 81 is trending right now on Twitter.
Yeah.
And it's just the way I feel about John Fetterman is the way I feel about Mitch McConnell. Mm-hmm. Now, we understand what happened with John Fetterman, but if I'm going to sit here and look at John Fetterman's health and say, why are people not looking at this man saying, get him out of the Senate, allow him to leave and live his life and get him help? I say the same thing about Mitch McConnell. I say the same thing about Dianne Feinstein. Why is Mitch McConnell going in front of people?
Mitch McConnell is the kind of man
that won't give up.
Who has always been an intellectual and always been in full control of his faculties.
Yes.
And it's very difficult for someone like that to admit or recognize when they are having trouble. I
get that.
I think the best case scenario is that this is some kind of lasting impact from his fall and his concussion. Because if that's the case, then
take a freaking break.
Well, I know, but if that's the case, at least you can hope that there will be recovery.
Yeah.
I hope this is not the first stages of
demise.
Yeah, something else like Alzheimer's or dementia or something like that.
It is hard to watch.
I pray that it's not that, and that if it is a medical issue, it's more related to the injury, which would hopefully be something that can eventually be recovered from, and not the early stages of something else. Because after seeing this happen again,
it's tough.
It's clear to me that there is something going on, and it's not something. I mean,
can hide.
We can't call out Fetterman and Feinstein and say these people they can't serve in the United States Senate, and then make excuses for Mitch McConnell when he's doing something similar. So,
totally.
Yeah. Continue to keep an eye on that story and much, much more. Time to lighten the mood a bit. We're going to open up Closest Cabinet next.
This is the perfect time to upgrade your home. Mike Ferguson here from my friends at Window World. Their number is 314-993-1800. Improve your home with Window World's double-strength glass windows. Those come with a lifetime warranty that covers all parts, glass breakage, and labor. 314-993-1800. Get a free in-home estimate. Window World is the preferred window of the St. Louis Blues. 314-993-1800 or windowworld.com.
Southern Armory, your hometown gun store. Come and be more than just a customer. Southern Armory, we carry the best guns, holsters, knives, magazines, ammunition, and even food storage. Special orders are welcome. Southern Armory, 1 mile east of 270 and 44, 9901 Watson Road, and southernarmory.com. That's southernarmory.com.
Whether you're purchasing your first firearm or adding to your collection at Southern Armory, you're more than a customer, you're part of the family. Follow Southern Armory on Facebook or at southernarmory.com.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Money Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on St. Louis radio for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. Doug and Safe Money Radio is on 3 times every weekend, but in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com or call 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233. Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP. Member FINRA and SIPC. FDIC.
The team that brought conservative talk radio to St. Louis is back. This is News Talk STL. News, analysis, and opinion from the voices you know and trust. Mike Ferguson, Tim Jones, Dan Bongino, Tony Colombo, Vic Porcelli, Katie Fitzpatrick, Chris Arce, Ken Williams, Larry Connors, Gabe Pfeiffer, Joe Pags, Randy Tobler, Ben Shapiro. Talk radio made in St. Louis for St. Louis. 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Welcome home. KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefontaine, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm John Scott. Hurricane Idalia unleashed destructive winds and torrential downpours that caused coastal flooding of up to 16 feet deep along Florida's Gulf Coast a day after passing west of Cuba. Correspondent Julie Walker has more.
The hurricane made landfall in Florida's Big Bend region Wednesday morning as a Category 3. Cedar Keys saw a massive storm surge.
I'm 6 foot, and I was literally walking in chest-high water.
That's resident R.J. Wright, who stayed instead of evacuating to help neighbors.
Dock Street is underwater. I literally watched a Cadillac float down Dock Street.
Nancy Beckham also says the water was up to her chest.
Everybody lost a lot. We lost almost everything.
She had to leave her home carrying her 2 small pets.
The water came up in my house.
Beckham rode out the hurricane at a neighbor's house because it's on stilts. Hers is not. I'm Julie Walker.
And speaking from Perry, Florida, Governor Ron DeSantis says help is on the way for affected residents.
The emergency response with our first responders all through today and all through the night, they're going to keep going as long as they're needed. And then, of course, getting everybody back on their feet with clearing this debris. That's going to be a huge effort, as well as the power restoration in the areas where you really had serious interruption.
Idalia now on a path for the Carolinas. Also at townhall.com, fighting erupted in a refugee camp in the northern occupied West Bank between Palestinians and our own security forces. A 25-year-old Palestinian was killed. Elsewhere in the West Bank, Israeli security forces shot a Palestinian man who they said tried to ram his car into soldiers at a military checkpoint. The Dow finished up 38 points, and the NASDAQ added 75. More at townhall.com.
Relief Factor, pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. Relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
The Angie's List you know and trust is now Angie, and we're so much more than just a list. We still connect you with top local pros and show you ratings and reviews, but now we also let you compare upfront prices on hundreds of projects and book a service instantly. We can even handle the rest of your project from start to finish. So remember, Angie's List is now Angie, and we're here to get your job done right. Get started at Angie.com.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. We've got a great evening coming our way, mostly in the 70s, low humidity. Enjoy it. It's going to be nice. 57 will be our low tonight. So it's a cool start. That's the coolest, actually, since May 27th. And a warm but nice day, a high of 81 degrees. We'll do it again with nice weather, mostly sunny, low humidity. And Friday, mostly sunny, a touch warmer, 84 for the high. That's the latest First Alert forecast. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
Fox News commentary.
Vivek Ramaswamy's days of rapping Eminem songs to rural state fairgoers have come to an end. I'm Tommy Lahren. Find out why.
The best way to stop Joe Biden's agenda is to opt out of his inflation game by diversifying your savings into gold. I'm Dr. Ron Paul, and this is why I recommend a gold IRA from Birch Gold Group. To learn more, text the word SHELTER to 989898 to get a free info kit on gold. Birch Gold is the only gold company I trust, so text SHELTER to 989898 right now.
Paid for by Birch Gold Group.
Delivered a somewhat awkward yet memorable campaign moment when he rapped to Eminem's hit song Lose Yourself in front of Iowa State fairgoers earlier this month, but the real Slim Shady was not impressed. His team sent Vivek a cease and desist letter demanding he stop rapping the music on the campaign trail. According to the rapper's music licensor BMI, this request came directly from Eminem. Not shocking given the rapper has repeatedly come out against Republicans, including Donald Trump and his supporters. Still, I'm sure this news is a gut punch to Vivek, who told the New York Times that Eminem's underdog story resonated with him. He also told Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds that Lose Yourself was his favorite walkout song right before he got on the mic and rapped it to a crowd made up of mostly senior citizens in that now viral moment. But shucks, Vivek, you'll just have to find another rap muse, and may I suggest 50 Cent? I'm Tommy Lahren, and you can watch my show Tommy Lahren is Fearless at Outkick.com.
News, analysis, opinion.
Just calling to say I'm sad, I'm outraged, I'm upset.
101.9 and 94.1.
It's just a mess. A lot of people are conflicted on who to vote for and what the strategy is.
News Talk STL. Welcome home.
Welcome back to Colombo Katie on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL. This one's from Stell.
This is from Stell.
Well, Stell, baby. Intro music to start another Closest Cabinet here on Colombo and Katie each and every Wednesday afternoon, just after 3 o'clock. We are joined on the line by Mark Close from KC95 and usually also by the sponsor of Closest Cabinet, Skip Weber from Weber Chevrolet. However, Skip is not able to join us this afternoon, so we're stuck with just Mark. Marker! Hi.
How are you?
As usual, a stellar introduction. Thank you so much.
What do you think about
why do I do this?
What do you think? I don't know. Maybe because of the.
I keep coming back for the abuse.
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. It must be all the money we're paying you.
That's what it is. I'm sitting here counting it right now. 30 cents, 35 cents, 40 cents. Yes.
They pay you 40. You got 40 cents for this? I
don't like to brag,
agent.
but you know.
What do you think? I already forgot the song. What do you think of the intro? What was the intro?
Midnight Confessions.
Midnight Confession by Rob Grill and the Grassroots. Great pop band. All kinds of good music. Probably had 4 or 5 songs that made it like top 10, top 20. Really good pop band. Really good songs. So, of course, Stell does it once again. At least something about this show I can count on a regular basis. So that's a good thing.
Mark, that's qualified as a pop band. Oh, thank you, Mark. That's qualified as a pop band?
Oh, God, yeah. They were, like I said, they were on CHR Contemporary Hit Radio. They were, top 10, top 20 singles that came out. I think their first one was Let's Live For Today, which probably made it to the top 10. So they were absolutely, a pop band. Yep. Yeah.
You know what? One of the things that we have not talked about yet on this show is Bob Barker passing away.
Oh, man.
I don't know about you, Mark. I know, we've made a lot of jokes about the Wheel of Fortune over the years talking with you. But, man, if you say to me, if I have any memory of, being a kid in elementary school and having to stay home sick, when I was a kid, the go-to thing for that in elementary school was my mom would drive me to my grandma's house if I was sick one day because she had to go to work and my dad was at work or whatever instead of going to school. And I have clear memory of being 5 years old, 6 years old, sitting on a recliner in my grandma's living room with a bowl of chicken noodle soup, watching Price is Right with Bob Barker.
Oh.
And then we would watch Price is Right, and she also loved the whammy. Press your luck. Somebody spend big bucks. Stop on a whammy. Like those two game shows I think of all the time. And so like I have that childhood connection.
Fondness.
Not only to that, but I truly think that Price is Right is a great game show because of all the different things, It's not the same thing every show. There's all the different games that they play, and so there's like all that variety. I think
Good prizes too.
I think it's a great show. Period. So, and Bob Barker being so connected to it, I don't know. I just felt a little, it hit a little closer to home than some other celebrity deaths do when I learned about Bob Barker. What do you think, Marker?
Well, and I can tell you, and I have never watched an entire episode of The Price is Right. I was familiar. Drew Carey does it now, does a great job. And again, being the host of a game show is the greatest gig in the world. But Bob Barker, I tell you what won it for me and Bob Barker was Happy Gilmore. When he gets into the fist fight with Sandler at the golf
Price
course.
is wrong.
It was so out of character for Bob Barker. And I mean, they showed a little clip the other day after he had passed away. And I think Adam Sandler posted a bunch of stuff too. It's one of the funniest parts of a movie I've ever. And I mean, they are going at it and they're rolling around. He knocks Adam Sandler into the water and he tackles him. They roll down the hill. So that's most of my memories from Bob Barker. But the other part of that is we well know I'm 70 years old, and he did that show. Did he do that show into his 80s?
Oh,
Probably?
I bet.
Man,
I
think
bet.
so.
Yeah.
He was, yeah.
Yeah, because 99 years old and doing that show, and I'll go out and do a band gig and stuff, and we'll do 3 hours, and I'm exhausted. I'm thinking, Bob Barker's doing this stuff 5 days a week and making me look like a weenie, So it's like I have a lot of respect for the guy. Any of those artists, all the classic rockers and all that. Think about that. Most of your classic rock bands that are still getting big audience, McCartney's 81, Mick is 79, Willie Nelson is 90 and still goes out and does an hour and a half show. So I got all kinds of respect for those guys.
He did The Price is Right from 1972 to 2007.
Oh my gosh.
So that was 16 years ago, and if he was 99 minus 16, he was in his 80. He was in his early 80s, right? Am I doing that math right?
Unbelievable.
Yeah, that he.
Big respect for anybody that could keep bringing it and doing it, and he had a great rapport with the audience. As does Drew Carey. I love Drew Carey. He does a great job with it. So, absolutely.
And there's a certain level of fame. There's like a different level that some people reach that literally, we say, like you joke about it, but like it's true. You could go to any country in the world, to any demographic, any age group, any skin color, and everybody knows who Bob Barker is.
Yeah.
Even someone like not everybody in the world knows who Taylor Swift is, and there's nobody more popular than Taylor Swift in the right now. I mean, she's as big as it gets. But when you talk about just like this level of fame that a very few percentage of people reach, that are like Muhammad Ali, like just like names that are like worldwide names. And I'm not saying Bob Barker is as important as Muhammad Ali, but I'm just saying like
he's a household name.
That's a level of fame that few others have ever achieved when you get to that point.
I also like someone that like Bob never lost the tan. He never lost the veneers. He never lost the hairstyle. Like he was classic.
He never lost the
end.
Delivery.
He never lost that.
Right. Right. And the story that his one big wish in life. You know this?
No, what is it?
To play for the St. Louis Cardinals.
Oh, yeah,
that's
cool.
And they did the interview, and he said the only thing that held him back was a total lack of talent.
That's great.
But he wanted to play for the Cardinals, man. Growing up, he wanted, he listened on the radio, well before Jack Buck was around, he was probably listening. He wanted to be a Cardinal, and he just said, just never had the talent and couldn't do it. So
Yeah.
he eked out a pretty good career for himself otherwise. So
Yep. No, that's great. What a great career. There's actually, speaking of The Price is Right, there's a really good documentary that was done. This actually happened. Most of the documentary takes place when Bob Barker was still the host, but the incident that is the crescendo of the documentary happened in Drew Carey's first year. There was a guy who studied The Price is Right every day. He's some kind of engineer, and he studied The Price is Right every day of his life, like starting in the 70s, like before a home computer was even a thing. He had one, like a DOS program that was keeping track of all the prizes that they put out and how much the prizes cost on the show and da-da-da-da-da. And he went multiple times, like dozens and dozens of times over the years, sat in the audience, never got called on, but like became a little bit famous because like he'd yell out, how the crowd yells out like what the price should be, like the number should be. And like he'd been pointed out by contestants and even by Bob Barker on multiple episodes as being a guy in the crowd that kept getting all the stuff right. And he finally got on the show, and he got to the finals, and he did his showcase showdown, and he predicted, he nailed it to the dollar.
Insane.
He got the price of the package exactly
amazing
right. And if you watch the footage, it's Drew Carey's first year. So all of his studying and going on and being on there and all the experience with the show was all during Bob Barker's reign.
Wow.
There's a big part of Bob in this deal. But Drew Carey's in his first year when he actually gets called on as a contestant, goes down, hits it. And when it happens, Drew Carey doesn't react at all. He just says he just reads the number and he's like, you got it right on the nose. You win both shows.
Oh.
Like very just dry.
Because he doesn't know.
Sure.
Well, no, they interviewed Drew afterwards and he said, I was sure that this guy cheated somehow. So he's like, in my mind, this is never going to air. This is never going to air. This guy's not going to win this stuff because there's no possible way that. So Drew just didn't buy it. He just saw it happen and is like,
and we'll go on with the show. The show must go on.
Yeah, he's just like, we'll just, there's a crowd, there's an audience in the crowd, or whatever. Right. They got to end the taping, but he's thinking this is never going to air. This guy cheated. This is never. So I'm not going to make a big deal about it. But the guy didn't cheat. He was just that freaking. No. He had just done that much research and you can watch the entire documentary on YouTube for free. And
I think Netflix too, maybe.
Really good. It's on. Yeah, it may be, but it's on YouTube for free. And yeah, it's. I highly recommend it because it's really good and it gives you a lot of really interesting behind the scenes insight on how people get on the show and how people get into the audience and because they just stand in line. Like you get in line that day at a certain time and they take the first, 200 people or however many it holds and that's it. It's like there's no advance tickets, or at least there wasn't before. Maybe it's changed now, but like you just flew to California and got in line and hope you got in line early enough.
Yeah.
And that was it.
And prayed.
Yeah. And that was it.
Right.
Yeah, really cool stuff. Really, really impressive stuff. I highly recommend you go check it out. All right, got a couple of internet surveys. We love the internet surveys here on Close's Cabinet.
Yeah, we do.
Yep, I think this one's perfect, Marker. Top 10, well, not top 10, just the top most annoying things that neighbors can do.
Oh, man.
Mark,
wow.
I think that you
might
have an opinion on some of these things.
Wow.
I probably got. We could go to 100 before we even started duplicating ourselves. But yes.
All right. So agree or disagree with some of these things. This internet survey on the most annoying behaviors, most annoying things neighbors can do. Inappropriate parking, aka parking in front of your house.
Yeah.
Right.
What do you think of that? What do you think of that, Mark? Are there clear parking designated areas for each house, and you don't infringe on those rights in any way?
It's kind of an unspoken rule, but no, if you're parking on the street, street's open to anybody as long as you're not blocking a mailbox or a driveway. It's open. I get it. And some people, and I, the last time I would have had a problem with that was years and years ago. But it's as long as you're legally doing it. But I know some people that you see it online. They get into these giant fights. It's my space. Why? Because it's in front of my house. Well, not really. Not by law. The street is wide open, so you can park anywhere as long as you're legal on the street. But people get into it on it, and I know that. So
yeah, it's very.
I get it.
When Grace was home, after she was turned 16 and was at home before she left for college, and for those few years that she was driving, she didn't park in the driveway because I had one side of the driveway. Christine had the other side.
Sure,
right. Can't block it, so she always parked in front of the house. And if somebody else parked. If she was out and somebody else parked in front of our house and where she always parked and she had to park up the street or down the street or whatever a little bit, the first thing that she would say when she came in would, somebody's in my spot.
Mm-hmm.
My spot.
my spot.
Yes.
And it was her spot. She's there every day.
In her mind.
Yes, yeah. Yes. So I get the annoyance.
I do too, and I also see
I get it.
There's also something to be said that cars almost start to block the only way to get to your house.
Mm-hmm.
So, my neighbors, I don't have that kind of issue with, but I have issue with whenever there's lines and rows of cars parked outside of their house because they probably have to, and then it makes it nearly impossible to navigate through the cars to be on the actual road to get to your house.
Yeah, or how about this one, Mark? Here's something that's wrong with kids today. Parking. You may be parked in front of your house, perfectly in front of the house, but you are even with the back of my driveway.
Yeah.
So when I back out, you are directly behind me.
Yes.
You're not blocking anybody's driveway. You're dead center in front of your house.
I have nowhere to turn.
But some of the ways that streets are configured, that can be directly behind. And I don't think people even realize what they're doing. It's what a terrible spot you're in right now. As I'm backing out of my driveway, you're directly behind me. You're gonna get
an issue.
You're gonna get that. You're gonna get your car dented up there, bud.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even think.
You're opening yourself up for problems. But and again, it's not illegal. But and then deciding, depending in the city, some places the streets are pretty skinny. And you put a car on each side, and then you try and get two cars coming down the middle. It ain't going to happen, man.
Mess.
It ain't going to happen.
How about these? I'm gonna combine two together because they're sort of related. Leaving your dog outside to bark, that's barking, and especially at nighttime, and or the neighbor's dog going potty in your yard and not getting cleaned up. How about those two?
Right. Absolutely, those are bad. Those are bad pet owners. It's like
bad people.
The dog, letting the dog do it, whatever and stuff. I mean, you do it in a park, and a park ranger sees you don't pick it up, they'll give you a ticket.
Yeah.
You'll get a ticket for it. And as far as barking at night, it's the same thing. Call the police, and it's a disturbance. And it's kind of like common courtesy.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, my dog's barking, no big deal. All right, the guy next door is going to put a PA system out there and play AC/DC all night long. So it's like
my dog bugs me. If our dog is barking at night in the backyard, it bothers me, and I'm like, get her in here, get her in here.
Yeah.
I can't stand it.
Right.
So I can't even imagine how people just let it go. Katie, you said that these two are separate issues. Is one okay in your eyes and one not okay?
The barking of the dog does not bother me, not even a little bit. But I will say there are limits.
Mm-hmm.
If the dog is outside barking for 2 or 3 minutes, I don't care. That's a dog to me. And in fact, Marty, my dog, I'm like, you better bark. If something is out there disturbing the peace and you don't tell me before that thing comes, you better be barking.
But is something disturbing the peace constantly, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, the whole time they're out there?
Right. This is the limit.
Because then it becomes Boy Who Cried Wolf.
This is where there is a limit to the dog barking.
Yeah.
There is a limit to that. I'm not saying there isn't.
Go ahead, Mark. Go
Then
ahead,
it's
Mark.
Marty that's disturbing the peace.
Yeah.
It's Marty
Yes,
that's destroying
I
the
don't
law.
mind. Listen, I have deer in the back of my. I have deer in my backyard.
Here we go, bragging about.
And there's common ground.
The freaking
And
compound.
Marty, he loves to bark at them. So I let him outside and I let him bark at them for 2-3 minutes. I'm like, this is what freaking dogs are supposed to. This is part of their enjoyment.
Sure.
It's like,
Sure, that's fine.
But
as long as it's not 1 o'clock in the morning,
Right.
I don't.
There are
dogs,
limits.
Dogs barking in the afternoon, that doesn't bother me. Like you said, they're keeping people off your property, whatever, or keeping an eye out. But it's like late at night. I think more than anything, it's late at night are
Yes.
just persistent.
I
go
agree
on
with
the
that.
dog barks for like 30 minutes, notstop. That's a little much.
I
That's
agree
a
with
little
that.
much. Yeah.
And one more marker, and I bet you this is that this is a sensitive spot for you. Leaving your house looking like crap and or including not cutting the grass.
oh, not cutting the grass.
Oh, here we go. Now we found Katie's. Katie's okay with barking dogs, but don't let your
Really.
grass grow.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, and the thought about that, we had this discussion when you and I with Glover and all those over years gone by. It's like when you don't take care of your property, it affects your neighbors. Because someone comes in, you're trying to sell your house, and I almost said something I shouldn't say in the radio, but it's a S box on both sides of your house, and because the swamp goat doesn't cut its grass or leaves crap all over the place. That affects you in the pocketbook. What you do inside your four walls, short of animal and child abuse, I don't care what goes on there because it doesn't affect me. But if your yard looks like hell, it's going to hurt my value of my home when and if I want to sell it.
You said it. That is
Totally.
exactly
Yep.
right. That is Mark Close from KC95. This is Colossus Cabinet. We're just about out of time. Marker, before we let you go, any promoting to do? Band playing anywhere? Anything happening at KC we need to talk about? What's happening?
Well, we got a show coming up on September 11th at the Hawkins House in Webster Groves. This is an historic house. They do a summer concert series. It's right at the corner of Big Ben and Rock Hill. It's a Monday night. It's right up our alley at 7 and 9, so we'll all be home in bed by 10:15. But you can come over. It's free. You can bring a lawn chair. You can bring food. You can bring drink and all that. Sit outside. Hopefully we could get. We love playing outside. It's my favorite thing. I'm sitting on my porch right now. Sitting outside, playing outside is what it's all about. You can find it at close quarters. We've got the post. We're doing a Strassen Fest in Staunton, and we're doing the Alton Marine, and we're doing Max, and we got a whole bunch of stuff coming up. So we've been having a great year. So thanks to everybody for that. We appreciate it.
Yeah, great stuff, Marker. Love it, and look forward to talking to you again next week, my friend. Have a great rest of your day.
All right, guys. See ya.
You bet.
See ya.
That is Mark Close, and that wraps up Close's Cabinet. Brought to you, as always, by Weber Chevrolet. Skip was not unable to join us today, but it is a great time if you are looking for a new or used vehicle to visit one of the 3 area Weber Chevrolet dealerships: Creve Coeur in Missouri, Granite City, and Columbia in Illinois. A lot of the inventory issues are getting a lot better, so there's a better selection of vehicles than there has been in a long time, and Weber is still offering top dollar on your trade-in, so that is a perfect formula if you are looking for a new vehicle. Of course, Weber's service departments are second to none. They'll take care of you in that vehicle for as long as you own them. So, again, if you're looking for a new car or truck, Weber Chevrolet is the place to go. Learn more about everything happening at all 3 dealerships at weberchevrolet.com. All right, Katie, check this out. Missouri Democrats are planning to open up next year's presidential primary voting to 17-year-olds. I didn't even know that was legal or possible. I'll give you the details, but 17-year-olds looks like could be allowed to vote in the presidential primary, Democratic primary next year if Missouri Democrats get their way. I'll explain that story and more next on Colombo and Katie on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Colombo and Katie, the new faces of talk radio. Like us on Facebook at News Talk STL.
This is so stupid.
St. Louis's.
Okay, I'm hanging up on you now.
Place to talk. News Talk STL.
Hey, speaking about that beautiful weather outside, great time to be enjoying the great outdoors. And before your next trip into the great outdoors, make sure you prepare by visiting our friends at Bluff City Outdoors in Alton, Illinois. About a mile east of Fast Eddie's there in Alton. Bluff City has you covered. They, for decades, have been the go-to place for fishermen. Get you ready for your next fishing trip. Plug up any holes in the tackle box you may have. Frozen and live baits. They offer guided fishing tours on the Mississippi and Missouri rivers. They have all the gear and equipment that you need for your next fishing trip. But now they also have even more because they have expanded out there at Bluff City Outdoors. They have more than doubled the size of the place about a year ago. Now they have the state-of-the-art archery range. You can shoot in the archery range every single day at Bluff City Outdoors. We are getting closer and closer to archery season, bow season here in Missouri and in Illinois. So you can get yourself prepared. You can get your equipment ready right now. It's a perfect time to drop off your bow, get it restrung, get it tuned up for next season right now, and then also take advantage of that archery range to tune up yourself before you get out there in the woods. We're also just a couple weeks away from the Alton Catfish Classic, an amazing event put on every year by Bluff City Outdoors, one of the biggest fishing tournaments in the country. Over $50,000 of prize money, $20,000 to the winner, and it's just an awesome family event out there in Alton. You can watch the weigh-in. There's all kinds of great activities. I've been taking James for the last few years. He absolutely loves it. Just so much going on at Bluff City Outdoors. Make sure you check it out. Also, don't forget about the Bluff City Outdoors show every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. here on News Talk STL, hosted by myself and the owner of Bluff City Outdoors, Mark McMurray. Man, it's a lot, but it's a great place. And if you haven't visited it yet, if you haven't checked it out yet, make sure you do as soon as possible. Learn more about Bluff City Outdoors by following them on Facebook or at bluffcityoutdoors.com.
This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
Dateline, California. And in San Francisco, there's a bakery that says, we don't want any police officers in here, not even if they're picking up donuts. They come in wearing a gun. That's right. No police who are carrying guns. In fact, they say in these times of increased gun violence, especially on people of color, youth, and queer people, we believe we need a strict policy of prohibiting guns in our restaurant, even if it's police officers. Yeah, that sounds like a really great idea. And still from California, there's a local school that decided, let's bring the kids back together for a time to get acquainted. We can have hot dogs, snacks, drinks, play some games. But it's only going to be open to Black, brown, or Asian Pacific kids. No white kids are invited. Oh, and this thing is included as far as an event sponsored by Equity and Inclusion Committee. Equity and Inclusion.
For more, listen to the Larry Connors USA Daily Report tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
This time of year, heavy rains, high winds, they can hit, and if you have any loose shingles, even the smallest hole in your roof, you're taking a major gamble with your biggest investment. I can tell you from personal experience, do not wait until you have water where it shouldn't be. Don't forget that John Beal has disaster crews, which can at least cover your roof until the damage can be fully repaired. Homeowner, business owner, call John Beal, 1-800-NEW-ROOF, 1-800-NEW-ROOF.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
There was an absolutely brutal attack on Andy Ngo. He is the conservative investigative journalist. Some of those people were sued, and there was a court ruling that let those people off the hook. Did you notice that that wasn't in the big national headlines? Somebody being attacked because they were observing criminal activity.
Weekday mornings, 5:30 till 9 on News Talk STL.
Wow, that was my reaction when I walked into Napoli C, now open on the streets of St. Charles, right next door to Napoli 3. And Napoli C is like walking into a 2-level submarine. Fish just outside the portholes. The menu is going to be filled with various seafood, lobster, crab. Good luck with choosing. Napoli C is now open on the streets of St. Charles. Join me at any Cafe Napoli. Clayton, Town and Country, Napoli 3 in St. Charles, or right next door, Napoli C.
In the dead of night, a child clings to life, trapped in a crumpled car wreck. Every second, a heartbeat away. Through the chaos, a team of first responders emerges. They pry open the twisted metal, their voices reassuring as they pull the child from the wreckage. In that moment, a life is saved.
Join with the David Dorn Foundation to provide first responders with equipment needed to save lives throughout the state of Missouri. Visit dornfoundation.com now to learn more.
On the next Larry Connors USA.
One police chief says, so what are we supposed to do? Just send somebody with a clipboard and ask, how's your day going?
Larry Connors USA. Now weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL.
Welcome back to Colombo Katie on 101.9 News Talk STL. Here's a heck of a story. Missouri Democrats are planning to open up next year's party-run presidential preference primary.
Oh.
Whoa. Party-run presidential preference primary. Party-run presidential preference primary. Party-run presidential preference primary. That's a fun one. To 17-year-olds. How about that? Missouri legislators in 2022 replaced the state-run presidential preference primary with proponents.
Oh, man. Who
wrote this story?
Who wrote it?
Arguing that political parties, come on! And taxpayers should pick up the tab for party contests. Let me read that sentence again. Missouri legislators in 2020 replaced the state-run presidential preference primary with proponents asking for political parties and not taxpayers.
Is this a Dr. Seuss book? What is this?
Because of an effort to reinstate the state-run primary, failed at this past legislative session, both the state Republican and Democratic parties are moving forward with plans for party-run contests in 2024. Quote, to encourage participation by youth in the delegate selection process, any individual who will have turned 18 years of age by the date of the general election will be allowed to participate in the delegate selection process. This is according to the drafted plan of the Missouri Democratic Party. So if you're 17 when the primary gets here, but you will be 18 when the presidential election happens in November, you will be allowed to vote for president of the United States at the age of 17 in the state of Missouri. What do you think?
Smells like desperation. It smells like this is Democrats proposing this, correct?
This is only regarding the Democrat presidential primary.
Yeah.
This is not the Republican.
That's desperation.
Primary.
That is a panicked party. Add the couple P's in there.
Mm-hmm.
That is a panicked party that is like, oh snap. We have our bag of goodies, which they would probably contest would be the minority groups, people from minority communities, younger people. That bag is dwindling. There are large portions of people deciding to become independents or Republicans now.
Mm-hmm.
So what do they got to do? Bump that age limit, homie.
Mm-hmm.
Got to get them 17-year-olds. I mean, that's what they're doing with illegal immigration.
So, a little bit before our show started, Stell Ponticus, Stell Baby, the great Stell, producer of the morning show, Mike Ferguson in the Morning, was in my office getting ready to leave. And it was right when I pulled up the story, was reading the story, and was writing out my show prep for today. And I said to him, hey, I said, Stell, have you seen this? Missouri Democrats planning to allow 17-year-olds to vote in the presidential primary. And I kind of tilted my monitor so he could read the headline because he hadn't seen it yet. And I think his reaction, one sentence reaction was perfect. He just read it and he sighed and said, man, they'll just do anything to mess with an election.
Wow.
Perfect.
Wow.
He just
election interference.
They'll just do anything.
That's right.
And it's true. They'll just do anything to mess with an election.
Yeah. But that shows me the moving of the goalpost in a way like that shows me that they are fearful for something that's the tidal wave that could possibly come.
And look, it's not even, to me, it's not even about like, should 17-year-olds be allowed to vote? We can have that conversation.
I say no.
That's totally fine. We can have that conversation. But to your point and to Stell's point, it's just we have to change everything all the time. Hey, we should be able to vote on days other than election day. Oh, we should be able to mail in our votes. Oh, we should be able to vote a year earlier now. We should be it's just constantly, just like he said, just do anything to change the election. We're constantly changing the rules.
They're trying to have illegal immigrants vote.
Yes.
I mean, that's where we are.
Yes.
There are Chris Arps.
Non-citizens
Voting.
Chris is very active. Chris Arps is very active in the fight for the integrity of the vote and knows a lot more than anybody about this issue. But yeah, the push to allow non-citizens to
and
vote.
17-year-olds.
There was a presidential election the year I turned 18, so I actually did get to vote when I was 18.
I mean, I know that 18 were allowed to, but that even, I'm like, oh, God. I was a hot mess.
Juniors in high school.
No. They don't, no, they shouldn't. Okay. Well, that's
Juniors in high school.
No, they shouldn't have to be worried at 17 about the crises of the world. They shouldn't have to be burdened with that kind of worry.
There are 17-year-olds out there that are saying, hey, our voice counts too. But again, it's not even that. It's not even that. It's just the idea of changing the rules every chance we get, messing with it everywhere we can.
Talk about crybabies.
Let's move to hey, more mail-in, more dates to vote instead of just on election day. Change the ages. Just everything they can to mess with it. So we'll keep an eye on this. This is super interesting.
You don't need an ID to vote. That's another
don't
one.
need an ID, right. Don't even have to vote at this. Don't even have to vote at the place by your house. You can vote anywhere you want. Seriously, anything. Just anything. We'll continue to keep an eye on the story because I think it's a super interesting one, and I'm very interested to see how this whole thing plays out. All right, that's going to do it for Colombo and Katie this afternoon. If you missed anything, make sure that you are subscribed to our podcast on your favorite podcast platform. And we'll be back tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Keep it here for the O'Reilly Report next, followed by the Tim Jones and Chris Arp Show at 4, then Larry Connor's USA at 6. Thank you so much for listening to us and supporting us here at 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Rhino Shield is far superior to even the best traditional exterior house paint. Rhino Shield is 8 to 10 times thicker than paint and comes with a 25-year transferable warranty. Rhino Shield is the only ceramic coating company that has been chosen by Disney, This Old House, and 3 times on HGTV's Curb Appeal, where every episode is concentrated on unpainted brick, bonds and seals to stucco, wood, hardy, block, color lock, masonite, and more. No better product for those steel aluminum-sided homes that have become, chalky and tired looking. We coat sloped and flat roofs to extend their lives too. After 15 years, we've got a great reputation and a superior product. As long as it's affordable, why wouldn't you do it? Before you make the costly mistake of painting with traditional